Hey, we're back again with RPG Horror Stories. The last one was pretty fun, I felt, so I thought, why not do another one? This one apparently is quite light-hearted, so maybe go along with this, see how it is, and if you like it, I'll keep doing them. But without further ado, of bureaucracy and boss fights. Remembered the oddest one-shot I ever witnessed and thought you would like it. Nobody was harmed in the making of this story. Thank God, OP. A while back, my group decided to make a post on LFG looking for someone to join us and to DM a Wednesday game. Our asks were for a DM who enjoyed roleplay as much as we did and who didn't run overly difficult encounters. When we got down to the final few interviews, we asked each of them to make a one-shot so they could get a feel for how we play. We would get a feel for how they play as well. One of the DMs ran the following D&D 5e. The one-shot opened with a party who all vaguely knew each other, attempting to enter a walled city after travelling together. Unfortunately for our heroes, they did not have the coin necessary to pay for the entry fee. Thankfully, the helpful cleric informed the party of a job in the hills outside the city, where a person had gone missing the night before. The party's goal was plain: take a guide to the hills, find the source of the illness, and return. Illness? I don't see mention of illness, but I guess that was something the DM described and we didn't see in this post. Anyway, the party was then introduced to the guide by the DM, who spent several minutes describing every button and hair on the man before they sat down. Extra detail, I suppose. In the hills, the party instantly located a cave without rolling to do so. And in the cave was the missing person, unconscious. The DM described a tunnel heading deeper into the cave, so the party set forth to see what lied beyond. It was a dead end, like nothing, just rocks, no extra tunnels, and the DM asked the party to make con saves, then says, nothing more. Quite ominous, very rocks fall maybe? But, so victorious, our heroes gathered the lost person and carried them home, receiving thanks from the clerk and the guide, and received their effortlessly earned reward, which was immediately spent on entry papers. The DM then had the first player step forward to the front of the line and begin asking questions. What's your name? What's your race? How much do you weigh? Where are you from? Etc, etc, etc. And so the player spent 10 minutes role-playing, filling out citizenship forms with the DM. Finally it was done, and the party could move on to the next player, and the next, and the next. And thus the party spent 45 minutes role-playing paperwork, and joy was had by none. The DM then described how the party would need to find work to support themselves, but first the guide and the unconscious person from before were returned. The previously unconscious NPC, now slightly glowing and filled with magical might. The two NPCs approached the party and all bore witness as the DM roleplayed with himself for about 10 minutes before the glowing, formerly lost person ran out of the gates, and the guide asked the level 2 party to please join him in tracking the glowing one. The party, following the plot, was more than happy to oblige in seeking the adventure. I do just want to add on here, I don't know if it's just me, but there is a weird sense, at least from me as a DM, that I feel like you could make this weird role-playing paperwork session kind of fun, but it would be somewhere where maybe you're processing criminals and that's the kind of start of the campaign. The players have already been arrested and they're filling out their paperwork and their forms, sort of meeting each other eye to eye as they each detail, I did this, I did that bad thing, I'm this, or I was never supposed to be here. You could make this quite a good character introduction, I think. But if this was just your level 2 and you've kind of already played the character a little bit, I do think it could go on at least. At the very least, 10 minutes, sure. 45 minutes of paperwork? Yeah, okay, I can understand why people got a little bit bored of that. The DM narrates as the party follows the glowing NPC into the fields, where he begins to turn and become angrier and angrier before exploding into a giant plant monster. Oh dear. Surely the party cannot take on such a beast, they thought. But no, the DM believed in the party and ordered that they roll initiative with their guide at their side, and the battle was begun. An hour and a half, roughly 4 rounds of hacking and slashing, and various status effects later, the party realised the fight was still going, and they asked the DM How's the boss looking? And we're informed roughly halfway dead. Okay, I like long fights, but there's definitely a limit. An hour and a half? If your party has got to the point where they're asking you, hey, is this guy nearly dead yet? It might be time as the DM to kind of just a little fudging of the numbers to make it so that someone is about to kill this boss on the next hit. Because clearly the fun is going out the window here. People want to move on. 45 minutes later, the party battered and bruised, and the DM narrated as the plant beast finally fell and congratulated the party on their heroic deed, but informed them that one of the party had failed their con save in the cave and was now doomed to experience the same fate, but that we'd have to return later if we wanted to know more and to save ourselves from ruin. The game ended, and the DM asked the party how they liked the session, disclaiming that they'd never really done roleplay before, but that the paperwork had been really fun. The DM had told the party that the boss they kind of defeated was the weakest they'd ever made. The weakest? Had 400 hit points, because the players didn't want something overly hard, and he promised that the next boss would be much, much tougher. Unsurprisingly, we didn't pick him as our new DM. Oh boy. Okay. It's pretty telling that the DM was like, yeah, I love the paperwork. Okay, well, there's definitely a bit of a mix and match here between what the players wanted and what this DM wanted. I mean, it seems like they made a passable session, at least a memorable one, so it's not quite a horror story, definitely a mild story. But 400 hit points at level 2? Man. Given that they said it took about 4 rounds of hacking and slashing before, an hour and a half, let's say they took like 3 hours for that boss, maybe 8 to 9 rounds of combat, even then I think those level 2 players must have been hitting hard, because that sounds rough. 400 HP. What was the boss doing? Sometimes I think maybe this was a new DM, because they're talking about not really role-playing before, but I really think this is a trap that DMs fall into, that a difficult boss is not just a blob of hit points. Now, don't get me wrong, sometimes it's good to give a boss that many hit points, give them like a big weight for punching, especially against parties that have really weighted characters. There are characters who will deal tons of damage in various sort of weapons they have, enchanted equipment, or just, you've made a mistake as a DM and really amped a certain player up because they wanted this item or this ability or this adjustment, and you wanted to play for them to have fun. It happens to the best of us, happens to really everyone at least once, I would say. This, however, is the eventual problem with doing that, and the fact that this was their weakest boss. Buddy, you could have halved the HP on this thing and it probably already would have been a bit too much. Okay, for level 2, let's bring it back a bit. 150 HP maybe as a boss that, does a few different things. That would have been more than enough for these guys. Even then, this feels like an introductory quest. This feels like something in World of Warcraft. At no point in World of Warcraft do I feel like, as a character in Westfall, would I be wandering into a small field full of farmers and fight the epic raid boss. Like, what is this? It's a bit too much, I think. I'll give credit where credit's due, that I think it's interesting that they kind of did you failed your con save and now one of you is going to become this creature. That's cool. You've given something to sort of bring back to why the plant boss even mattered at all. The problem is you didn't do that well either, I would say. There's no indication in this story that the players actually understood at all what was going on in that cave. There's no fungus on the walls or kind of spores in the air. Nothing that gave signs that this was in some way causing the plant creature. As they wrote above, it was all rocks in a cave, I believe. Yes, the DM described the tunnel heading deeper into the cave, and so the party set forth to see what lied beyond, and it was a dead end. Like, just nothing, just rocks, no extra tunnels. And the DM asked the party to make con saves and said nothing more. Yeah, here this is the big failure, I think. You could narrate that it's dark and dank, or there's this kind of smoggy cloud of spores, and that you have to make a con save because you're breathing them in. Something simple like that would give way more indication for the players. They might do spells to kind of cure disease or cure poison from clerics and such. Obviously level dependent, so they might not be able to do that right now, but it's something where they could have clutched masks to their face, cloth masks, and sort of attempted to deal with it. It's more narrative roleplay, and this is where the DM saying they really don't do roleplay, they're not used to it. This becomes really apparent in just how they kind of laid this all out. But that was fun. A nice story for once in RPG horror stories, nothing quite as horrific as we're used to. So we'll leave it there. Something not horrifying for once and a little bit enjoyable. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, and if you like the RPG horror stories, then let me know down below. We'll keep doing some more, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.